Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, and Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. They are Long Island's largest rock salt source. Plus, they've got everything you need to get you through this winter. All the great snow and ice melt products, new snow blowers, shovels, spreaders, whatever it is that you need to make sure that your home is safe and clean during this winter season. Head over to Omni. 631-756-1125. Nowhere can you find better prices. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we are looking ahead to the week before Christmas, which is going to be a busy travel week, particularly because of the fact that Christmas this year is on a Sunday. So the end of this week is likely to be quite busy indeed. So the timing of a major storm is for the late part of the week is not really a good thing. So I'm going to try to give you at least some idea of where the worst of this is going to be. And by the way, we're not always talking about just snow here. We're talking also rain and wind. There's going to be a lot of impacts, and we've got bitter cold air that's coming down behind it, where the bulk of that cold air is probably going to head for the Ohio Valley and the southeast. Some of that cold air will come into the east as well, but the worst of it is going to be, I think, in the Ohio Valley and to the southeast. We've got some patchy clouds around, but there are lots of breaks in the cloud cover, as you can see on the satellite loop. We are seeing the old plains blizzard from last week. The upper air feature from that is now getting ejected from the eastern Great Lakes and moving on to the east. And we've got more energy coming into the Pacific Northwest. The energy that's going to make that storm later this week is not on shore as of yet. Radar this evening, some snow showers, some lake effect snows going on in upstate New York, both in north central and southwestern New York. We've got some patchy snow shower activity in and around the Catskills. Still some leftover snow going on in Maine and also wrapped around the Great Lakes. So let's look at rainfall. In terms of total rainfall, this is going to come on Thursday and Friday. We have a warm front that's coming up on Thursday, and you can see the rainfall amounts in the east are on the order of a quarter of an inch to about southern New England, half an inch to central and southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, and 3/4 of an inch to an inch from Virginia down into North Carolina. And then the next day, the overnight period, the next day, so this is Thursday night into Friday night. So that first period that you saw here is actually Wednesday night into Thursday night. The second period is Thursday night into Friday. And that produces an inch and a half to even some pockets of 2-inch plus rains in the Hudson Valley and in parts of western and southern New England. Inch and a half going down to southern New Jersey, the half-inch line down into Virginia. Now, as far as snow is concerned, this is the probability of at least a couple of inches on top of what has already fallen in northern Maine, so they might get a couple of inches more. This takes us, by the way, through Wednesday evening, and we're starting to see snow probabilities extending further south into the central plains, including Kansas City, for example. We've got a high likelihood of almost 100% up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. And then out in the west, it's really about the Pacific Northwest, where there's a fairly high probability of snows going on in the northern Rockies and in the northwest areas of Washington, Oregon. So the mountainous areas there. So now on the long range, as we take a look, this is WPC's long-range forecast. So this is from Wednesday morning into Thursday morning, the probability of 3 inches. From northernmost Oklahoma northeastward up into Wisconsin and Minnesota. Also a small area in western Virginia, probably along and just west of I-81, and in eastern West Virginia. As we move on Thursday into Friday, the dark green is 30 to 50%, the blue is 50 to 70%. These are fairly high numbers to go out for in the long range, so there's some certitude here in terms of what WPC is seeing. Indiana, Northeast Illinois, including Chicago, Detroit in Michigan, all of the state of Michigan in that 50 to 70% probability, 30 to 50 through western and southern New York, also up in northern New York, including the Adirondacks, where we have a patch of 50 to 70, and that extends up into Maine. And then Friday into Saturday, that continues high probability in northeastern Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania, western and northern New York, north central New York. That's going to be primarily from lake effect, I think, and the 30 to 50% line extending further east, almost into northeastern Pennsylvania and the Catskills. So there's no real revelations here. I thought when I looked at the dayside runs today, there really isn't much change. I think at this point it's just a matter of trying to fine-tune the forecast specifically for certain locations, depending on the exact tract of this low, which is going to go to our west anyway. So here are the impacts that I'm expecting with regards to eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, down into Maryland, Delaware, and northern Virginia. First of all, no issues tomorrow, Tuesday, or Wednesday. There's some rain in the southeast with a little wave that goes out, but lower pressures remain. And then we got the low. You see the low dropping down through Colorado into New Mexico, and the big Arctic high that's plunging into Montana. That is very, very cold air. Snow breaks out in Oklahoma, in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa. This is on Thursday now. And also into Nebraska and the lower lakes. Meanwhile, in the east, as moisture comes up the eastern seaboard, a bit of a warm front sets up here, so we'll be ahead of it. And you see snow breaking out where there's some cold air wedged into the central Appalachians. The leading edge of this, there'll probably be a burst of snow with maybe some accumulation on the front end, a front end thump in upstate New York and in northern New England, going over to rain. And then you see the low just really intensifies very rapidly. Thursday night into Friday morning, there's a very intense low in southern Indiana with the dark blue snows there. In the east, it's rain going into early Friday morning, probably going to catch a bit of a break and we wait for the cold front. I think the big deal for Friday, if you're traveling out of any of the major airports in the Northeast down into the Mid-Atlantic, is going to be more the wind than anything else. We're going to have a screaming south wind during the day on Friday, probably sustained at 30 miles an hour plus, and probably gusts over 50 the way it looks. You can see how tight the isobars are. And then the front will come through, the winds will shift. Maybe it changes briefly to snow before it ends, and then it's just windy and cold for Christmas Eve and into Christmas Eve night. And even on Christmas Day, there still will be some gusty winds with cold temperatures, probably down temperature-wise by Saturday morning in the teens to low 20s, and maybe just struggling on Saturday to get back to 30 in the warmest locations. Moderates a little bit on Sunday, Christmas Day. And then the long range, really don't see much happening next week. The pattern's kind of calming down a bit. Action is shifting back into the western part of the United States, and we may actually see some moderating temperatures once we get past Monday and Tuesday of Christmas week, and no storms around, so that's good. So we may have to wait a while before we get any kind of precipitation. Looks like we're going into a calm mode. Weather in 5 is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website omnitruevalue.com. So I'm going to leave you with the satellite loop and let you know that we had a Joe and Joe weather show this morning. So it's on my YouTube library. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check it out. Otherwise, Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. on my YouTube channel, which, in case you didn't know, is Joe Cioffi, Cioffi. Subscribe to it. It's free, and then you get notified whenever the show is on. We will see you tomorrow.